Hiya guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to a modern magazine thing. Because this time we're looking at Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 48. Now, this week has been an absolute calamity. My wife fell on Monday and broke her leg in a couple of places and has been in the hospital. So I've been rushing about doing that, as well as being a daddy and supporting my two kids. I know they're older now, but I still need to look after them. They're my kids. So I've been rushing around doing all of that. And on the night it came to get the magazine, I'd totally forgotten what day of the week it was. But I rushed into the shop at the last minute and managed to get it on the shelf. Fortunately, it was still there. I wasn't too late. Whoever gets the copies in the weeks I don't manage to get it was running late too that day. But anyway, let's have a look at Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 48. So, this is Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 48. Now, shuffling the bag out of the way, as usual. We've got the magazine, we've got something else, and we've got a bag of dice. Let's get the bag of dice out of the way first. And we've got some nice black dice with, what colour is that? Teal numerals on them. They're quite nice, they're kind of shiny. They're about the same quality as all the other dice they've given us. But I am far more excited by the other item we've got here, because we have some big battle maps. Now these unfold to A1, so 8 times the size of the magazine, and they are different, double-sided, Underdark maps. Absolutely massive. Loads of little places on them. Seeing the building on that side as well. Fantastic stuff. They're made out of a sort of thick card. Now, a couple of issues ago, I commented on the battle maps they gave us, which were A3 sized. The gridding on them wasn't big enough for miniatures, whereas this is perfectly sized for miniatures. And they were just for the locations used in that adventure. It's almost like they've been listening to me, and they've given us this fantastic thing. Now, if they'd given us 2 of those instead of yet more dice, I would have been absolutely overjoyed. I would think that was fantastic. Long may this continue. Last issue they gave us the notepad and the pencil. This time they're giving us battle mats, which are actually useful. I don't tend to use miniatures and battle mats, but I really do appreciate having that with a magazine. That is a lovely thing. So they really seem on track. It's almost as if they're watching my videos, which I know they're not, because these were prepared long in advance, and my videos don't get that many views anyway. But they really seem to be on the same wavelength as me, giving me things that I feel are useful. Although they are insisting on still giving us more dice. But anyway, on to the magazine itself. So, new and exclusive adventure, High Flyers Aarakocra, Battlefield Wizards, the Blade Singers, Step into the Unseelie Court, and a guide to safety tools, hard limits and soft limits. We've got the contents page there as usual, detailing that it's Adventure 5 at Deals in the Deep, along with all the sections we talked about on the cover. And first up, we've got safety tools. Now, I don't tend to use these. I think in 30-odd years of games mastering, I can judge what's acceptable to my players. But there's been a couple of times when I've made people feel uncomfortable, and a couple of times I've felt uncomfortable in adventures. So I can understand why safety tools exist. Having hard limits and soft limits on things which can be brought up in adventures, things that you will not deal with, that you're just not happy being in your entertainment. Completely understandable and different for everyone, because everybody's had different life experiences. So I do think this is a very useful article, talking through how to set them up, examples of some hard limits. You know, people might not be happy with child endangerment, graphic violence, homophobia, transphobia, racism, self-harm or suicide, sexual assault. But they might have some soft limits on body horror, drug use, emotional trauma, mental illness, sexuality, and mild phobias. Talks how to implement the tools. Very, very nice section. As I said, not something I use myself, but I can see the value in that article. Next up, we've got Aarakocra. So, birdmen from the Forgotten Realms. We've got some background information, where they originate, the elemental plane of air, their appearance, their personality, and the high life. But that's it. I find this very odd that you're introducing a player species, species 11 apparently, but not giving what their stats are and what their abilities are. And that will come to a head later. Let's leave that one hanging for the moment. Then we've got the Wizard Arcane Tradition Blade Singing. Well, I remember Blade Singing from 2nd edition. It was an elf-only thing from what I remember at the time, but they seem to have extended it out that different people have learnt it. So it's an ability of casting spells while fighting, so training in war and song, poetry and motion, blade singing, and the different abilities. You gain bonus to your AC during equal to your intelligence modifier. Your walking speed increases. Your advantage on dexterity acrobatics checks. You gain a bonus to any constitution saving throw you have to make to maintain your concentration on a spell, because you're just more used to fighting while keeping spells up. Very nice stuff. I kind of liked it being an elf thing, you know, fleshing out their civilization. I'm kind of fine with it spreading around. What else we got? So we've got faction agents. Character background for those who like a little intrigue. So a character background, a very nice one. Going through what a faction agent is, how to roleplay it, faction agent benefits, and the 5 factions in the realms: the Zhentarim, the Lord's Alliance, the Order of the Gauntlet, the Emerald Enclave, and the Harpers, and connecting you to the lore sections on those. We've got a section on the ethereal plane. Silently stalk your plane on the material plane, or travel to other connected planes using this misty conduit. Interaction between the planes, visiting the ethereal plane, creatures and encounters, and plate armor of etherealness, a magical item. Then we've got the Unseelie Court. From quicklings and darklings to twite bligs and boggles, a trip to the gloaming court introduces a host of new and unusual creatures. So a brief description of it. Boggles, darklings, twig and tree blights, yethhounds, quicklings, just different creatures from the Unseelie Court. And again, we've got a playable race, but it's down as a monster, the Hobgoblins. I'd have liked to have seen more on this, but we've got a brief description. You know, they're a member of the goblinoid race alongside goblins and bugbears. Enemy hobgoblins in combat, the Hobgoblin Legion, encounters with them, Legion on the March, and beast trainers, how to play as one, and inspirations. But again, not much information about them, although obviously we'll have more in the adventure, because here we are with the encounter. Now, I kind of like this one. It's a bit different, although it's incredibly brief. Basically, the players encounter a shopkeeper who has ulterior motives for making a deal with them. She is a hag, and she is trying to bring out emotions and bad memories in the players because she wants to bottle up those emotions for using in her spells. So we've got the encounter background, encounter goals, how to roleplay the shopkeeper, more information about her as a night hag. She first appears shapeshifted as a Juragar, dealing with her, what she knows, so she can offer information for as the players carry on and their adventures. And then at the end of all the deals, she shimmers and shifts, her form stretching upward, and she will become a monster. But the players will also be bombarded with their darkest memories. And it mentions about hard limits and soft limits, which I kind of get, but I feel like my characters tend to have different limits than I do. So somebody telling me about my character's worst nightmare doesn't tend to bother me. One of my most played characters, her worst nightmare was her uncle who tried to kill her as a child, and she would have nightmares about that. But I'm not scared of a fictional uncle in an adventure, so that's not one of my limits. But I suppose making sure it doesn't tread on one of your players' limits is fair enough. But it's got a boxed out section describing the memories and the end of the encounter. Now, depending on how many people took her deal, then she becomes a different creature. So we've got the Hobgoblin Iron Shadow here with its different abilities. A spell here it has. We've got Quicklings. We've got the Night Hag itself with its spells and Night Hag items. Various options it can offer to sell you, including Hood's Handy Haversack. But the Night Hag wasn't detailed in the magazine. The Hobgoblin was, but we've only got the Hobgoblin stats for the Iron Shadow. The The quicklings dealt with in the magazine, you know, it's all over the place. And coming back to that problem with the Aarakocra that I mentioned. So the final page is a nice laminated page, or not laminated, but thick card character sheet for a Aarakocra Bladesinger. So using both the character class and species we've been given earlier in the magazine. Very good use of that. But we just have a list of abilities, and it doesn't separate out which of those are Bladesinger abilities and which of those are Aarakocra abilities. You can probably guess, but it doesn't detail them out. And I feel it would be useful knowing that certain abilities were native to the character before they even started to choose what class they were going to. So before they went off to wizard school, they had flight abilities as an Aarakocra, but did they have any of these? Is Arcane Recovery their wizard ability, or is it a natural Aarakocra one? Dual wielding. I'm guessing those are Bladesinger abilities, but it'd be nice to have them detailed out, either by including them in the section earlier in the magazine, or by just noting them next to each one where they get the ability from. Because it would make a difference how I roleplay the character. There can be certain times when a character might lose memories or be in a panic and would fall back just on their native abilities rather than what they had as their class. So being able to know what that is, very, very useful. Kind of disappointed on that. But a nice character sheet, a nice image, giving us out all the spells and things. And a marvellous map. So dice, fantastic battle maps, and a very, very good issue. Thumbs up on this one again. So that was Dungeons & Dragons Adventure issue number 48. And that was a really good one. Let's start with the maps. They are fabulous. How they could get these maps so right when they got the ones, 2-3 issues ago, so wrong, I don't know. They obviously knew the right things to do. They gave us nice generic maps which you can use again and again. They're the right scale for miniatures, and they're huge in comparison to the A3 ones we got before. These are A1? They're absolutely massive, fantastic stuff. And we get some dice on top of that. It's kind of pointless by this stage. We've had 200 dice, 200 plus. But they add some value to the magazine. And the magazine itself, we get the glossy character sheet, and every article in it really, really good this week. There's so many useful ones, from the safety tools through to the races and classes, which are great for games masters and players. But I suppose they are kind of lacking in a couple of areas. While we're not getting the stats and abilities of the races and classes to really flesh them out, they're really just descriptions of them. The character sheet give you those abilities, but they don't determine which ones are associated with a class and which ones are associated with a race, which is a bit disappointing. And it makes me wonder what we're going to do in the future, because this is a class and race set, instead of being class, race and background of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition or whatever, which is about to come out. So these will be out of date within a matter of weeks. But anyway, an excellent magazine. I am highly recommended. I really, really like this one. They're getting it right so many times recently. They just had that one really, really bad issue. But every other time, I'm really quite enthusiastic about it now. But anyway, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough as usual. So thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.